So you
Um,
spend most of your working time, I suppose, in the command center standing watch.
yep. We had this big tracking range screen set up, and you could see the boats. So we managed the water space for them and prevented mutual interference. So just kept depth separation or geographic separation. It was pretty simple. Yeah, I mean the command center was pretty neat. I mean there's a lot of stuff going on. We were the range safety officers or assistant range safety officers. Really didn't do a lot of the tracking range stuff at all. So I don't even know how they were our assistant because you'd ask them to help out in the tracking range, they just go like, "Okay." you know? But their job was really interesting. To tell you the truth, they were literally kind of like the air traffic controller for all the helo flights and all the plane flights coming up from Dead Horse. So we had this sonar tech who probably knew more about the tracking range, the stuff I was doing than I did, and he was, he was the guy on watch with me and the whole time. And I mean, he's like coordinating air flights and all that stuff, and conducting the bear tours in the middle of the night. Go out about every 20 minutes and check the camp for bears. He just had a flashlight and a bullhorn with him. So
So did you spend a lot of time outside? I mean, when I did ICEX on the Hampton, we came up and I walked around for like 5 minutes, and it was cold, and I didn't really want to stay out there, so I just went back in. Like, did you spend much time outside, or did you
yeah,
stay indoors?
spent a lot of time outside, and I'll tell you, it was really interesting because you're relatively warm with the giant parkas and bibs that we had on, the boots that were. I mean, literally, I have a size 11 foot, and the boot was this big because it was so insulated. So you're walking around with these boots that like are this tall and this big. I mean, the whole time. I think the longest I spent outside continuously was 5.5 hours, but throughout the course of a day, I think I spent about 8 or 9 hours outside one day. And you can be outside for different reasons. Mainly, you're on the search team. So after the torpedo shots, you'd kind of figure out where on the range the torpedo was, seeing its end of run pinger, convert that coordinate into a GPS coordinate, and then we would just either fly or take snowmobiles out to the site, and you'd kind of just try to get as close as possible to the spot we thought it was at, auger a hole down, stick, we call it diver on a stick, it's just a long stick with a camera on the end, and the water was so clear down there you could see the torpedo even if it was 100 feet away. And it was just sticking up like this on the bottom of the ice. So that's what you did with the search team. If you're on the search team, generally the search guys went back, and like me or whatever other range safety officers out there would stay out for the recovery team. So as we became more proficient, we knew how to set up the melter rig, which was basically this boiler that was hooked up, had two hoses hooked up to this brass ring that a bunch of poles were stuck on, and they basically just melted through the ice. And we melted through 11 feet of ice in like 45 minutes.
Wow.
So that's how we got the torpedoes out. You just melt a giant freaking hole in the ice. And it could take a while. I mean, the last recovery we did, I went out on because it was close enough to camp. I could take the snowmobile out, which I caught air on. It was pretty awesome. So I took it out there, and it was 11 feet of ice. I mean, so melting it wasn't a problem at all. I mean, you sit there and you watch it go down, and then it the ice cork comes up, kind of bobs there, and the pain in the ass part was getting it out. So we set this tripod up with a chain that went down through the middle of the ice plug that it kind of like locked into place, and you hang cranked up an 11 foot or 11 foot deep, like 3.5 foot diameter plug of ice. I mean, that is one hell of a workout. So we have to haul it up about 4 or 5 feet, take a chainsaw, cut off all the ice, drag these giant chunks of ice out of the way, crank it up some more, and and repeat and keep doing that. So it actually took probably about another hour to get that ice plug out.
So how many guys would be on a team doing this?
Uh, Including myself, about 3. Because, I mean, that's really all you need.
Right.
So, and after we'd melt 2 of those holes. So one, the torpedo would come out, the other, the divers would go in and hook up the rig to the torpedoes that the helos would use to haul it out.
Okay.
So we had divers going down there, and they were actually saying how warm it was in the water, because I guess comparatively it was 70 degrees warmer in the water than it was outside, and they were in dry suits, apparently sweating their butts off. So, so those days were long days. I mean, the cold was interesting because you feel warm, but really you're just getting the heat sucked right out of you. So I mean, I came back from those days I ate so much food at dinner. It's probably like medically bad for me somehow how much food I ate. You're so freaking hungry because I mean, I get just standing around doing a minimal amount of work. You're probably burning 5,000 to 6,000 calories just being out there in that weather. And I definitely made up for it.
How was the food at the camp?
Food was fantastic. I mean, it was hard to get to the main course because of all the different salads they had every night. You had some type of spinach salad, some type of leafy kind of general salad, maybe like a bean salad or a coleslaw. They had 3 cooks there. One lady, that's all she did was salads. And it was awesome. And they're all really good for you too. I mean, all fresh made. None of it was canned. It was all made from scratch. The main chef, I mean, you had 4 different kinds of vegetables, I think, with every meal. Like some type of starch, 2 kinds of meat. Like we had duck one night. Other nights we had filet mignon with Alaskan king crab legs. I mean, it was ridiculous how good the food was. And then there was a lady who was the baker. So you have these awesome desserts for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, just fresh made every single day. So I thought I was going to put on a lot of weight being up there, but luckily we were outside working off a lot of it. So, yeah, I mean, fresh coffee. That was really, really good coffee. It was hard to not drink it. Juice, all that stuff. And of course, if you're hungry in between meals, they had all these other snacks just kind of lying around. So, yeah, outstanding food. Other trips that we make outside, this is the interesting part. We had to have potable water up there. So they knew that me and a couple other guys liked taking the snow machines out, and we called it ice mining. So you'd find some ice that was kind of piled up, sticking out, and you'd have to chop off about a foot layer of it to get to the really clear ice that was pure water. The clear stuff was what all the salt had leached out of, so it's potable. So you'd have to go out. When there was only about 20 of us at camp, we only had to go out once a day to get the ice for basically all our cooking and drinking water. We didn't run it through any weird filter system. It was pretty much open up the cooler, stick the ice in, just let it melt, pour out water. So we only had to go out once a day when there's only 20 people in camp, but when there was 60 people, we had to fill it up maybe 5 times a day. So you're taking the snow machines out, you're swinging a pickaxe for the better part of an hour, and then you drag the sled with the big tub of ice back to camp, and they use it to cook all our food and provide drinking water for us. So